Hey everyone, welcome back to the Seventh Circle. My name is Eric. Today's video will help you decide whether 3D resin printing is right for you or not using these 5 questions. The first question you need to ask yourself is, what do you want to accomplish? If you want very large terrain pieces or entire villages, FDM printing might be the way you want to go. However, if you're clicking on this video, I'm going to assume that you're like me and you're primarily interested in miniatures, busts, and scatter-sized terrain. And for these purposes, 3D resin printing is a great, relatively inexpensive way to go. And while there's an argument that budget might be the first and most important question to ask yourself, can I afford this? Is this something that I feel comfortable investing money in? Well, only you can really answer that. But for my purposes, if you're really going to dive into 3D resin printing, you're going to want to set yourself a budget between $300 and $500. And I'll go over briefly the things that are involved and the decisions I made on how I set up those initial purchases. After a lot of research and consulting with friends on Instagram and other hobbyists, one of the important things that you really have to decide what 3D printer might be right for you as it pertains to budget is also location. So I narrowed my search down between the Elegoo Mars 2 Pro and the Mini Sonic 4K. And at the time in November of 2020, the pre-orders were still for the Sonic Mini 4K. It was almost a month waiting. The shipping to the States was over $100. And all things being equal, I decided to go with the Elegoo Mars 2 Pro. And with that extra $100 I saved in shipping, I got a wash and cure machine. So I'm going to list all of the items and their costs here on the side-by-side so you can see exactly how I spent my budget. But at the end of the day, while you could probably save, $50 or $60 if you parted out some of these things, I really want to say that my time, as I imagine all of your hobby time, is very valuable. And I don't want to spend a lot of time fussing around with handmade and improvised solutions. So I spent the extra money and got the wash and cure machine and then a couple other items to make my life easy. And I think if you're going to put that much money into it, you should too, just for your own sanity. So what did I get for my money? Well, I got the Mars 2 Pro, their wash and cure machine, a liter of resin, a box of plastic gloves, and some isopropyl alcohol, which is still unfortunately a little difficult to get because of the pandemic. But there are plenty of alternatives that you can use to clean your resin minis. There is also water washable resin now, and I'll link a couple videos from other 3D printing channels that I really like down in the description below that can give you some good alternatives. The third thing that you might want to consider is how much space do you have in your hobby area. Again, not everyone is fortunate to have a dedicated hobby space, so it really depends on your current living situation, but you're going to want a spot where you can leave these things set up. They're getting much better about the smell of resin and the chemical kind of smells to the point where you can hardly notice it. IPA does have a pretty strong odor, but most of the time you're going to keep that in a sealed container and only open it when you're cleaning your prints, so that's not really an issue. You're going to want a room with some good circulation in it. But other than that, you could put everything you need to on a decent sized shelf. However, if you're like me and 3D printing is going to be an additional supplement to your already robust hobby collection, you're really going to want to make sure that you're not cramping your space, or that you can pack some things away and dedicate, just even if it's a small workbench or table, a folding table even, would be great, to your 3D printer, the cure machine, and a spot to put your resin and cleaners. The fourth thing that you need to ask yourself is something I wasn't really expecting before I dove into the world of 3D printing, and that has to deal with your computer system. Now, my computer system is way out of date. It's about 8 years old at this point. My kid got a laptop for Christmas this year, and I think it's almost as fast and even better than the computer I bought 8 years ago. However, one of the things I wasn't expecting is how large these compressed files are for 3D printing. So you're definitely going to need to think about storage. Zipped STL files take up a lot of physical space on the hard drive. All of a sudden you're downloading gigs of information at a time. Now my storage, I think I had 450 gigs on the computer, and after a few months of 3D printing, I started realizing quickly that my entire computer was full of files. So you really need to think about your storage solution on your computer. I went out and bought a portable hard drive to store these files. So once I was done printing them, I could just move them to the spare hard drive, no problem. Other companies like My Mini Factory are great if you subscribe to some of these things, and in the next video I talk about, I'll recommend my top 5. And the fifth thing that you need to seriously consider whether to dive into the world of 3D printing is your time. Now, if you're like me and many other hobbyists, you're going to split your time between building the models that you have purchased to this point, painting those models, playing the game that you bought those models for, and now you're going to be adding another element to that mix, which will be printing. And many people have accurately said that 3D printing in and of itself can be considered its own unique hobby. Now, for me, I don't know about that so much, but it certainly has been a small rabbit hole that I've been really happy to dive into these last couple of months. I've printed out a lot of different figures. What I'm really enjoying right now is printing scattered terrain pieces or figures to enhance my hand scratch built terrain pieces for the channel. One of the videos that hasn't gotten a lot of views, that's okay, check it out here, is the pirate ship. And I absolutely loved building this thing, and also seeing how there is just a world full of miniatures that 3D resin printing has allowed me to access that would not have been available otherwise to me. So I found ghost cannons and skeleton pirate crew and all kinds of other interesting things that just weren't accessible to me before I got into printing. And while I encourage you to support your local independent gaming stores where possible, having a 3D printer means that you have access to an entire library and world of figures at your disposal just by clicking through the internet with companies such as My Mini Factory or Thingiverse. I'm sure there's others that you can get absolutely free files, or you can pay a small nominal fee to download exactly what your project or campaign or a game requires that you might not already have in your collection. Is it worth getting invested to? And in my opinion, absolutely 110% yes. There is a learning curve, and there are a number of great resources out there on Facebook, Instagram, on various Reddit posts and subgroups that can absolutely help you answer any questions that you might get stuck on. If you get frustrated, there are tons of groups of people who are willing to help you figure this out. So the communities are great. The price entry point, all things considered, is relatively affordable. And again, I know there's a global pandemic. Millions of people have lost their jobs. And I'm saying that as someone who's fortunate enough to have been able to work continuously throughout this. And I'm not trying to downplay any of those factors. But all things being equal, if you have the money budgeted and you're not, by all means, take care of your family and all of those important things first. And then if you're still in the situation where you're considering, is this right for me? I say yeah, absolutely. You could spend $200 on a box set for 12 figures. Or for a little bit more, you can open an entire world of miniatures and accessories that you can print at your leisure. Only you can determine whether or not ultimately this is right for you. But that being said, I find it highly enjoyable. It's opened up a whole entire new world of creativity for me, and I hope over the coming months I have a lot of projects planned where I'm going to take some of my handcrafting ideas and intermix them with 3D printed elements to help enhance the build. So I hope you stick to. If you like this video, please subscribe, click the bell notification, give me a thumbs up, and in the comments below, let me know what your questions are about 3D printing, especially if you're still on the fence. Or maybe you've decided that, yes, I'm definitely going to buy a 3D printer, but I don't know which model I should get. I'd be more than happy to discuss that. You can DM me on Instagram. Feel free to reach out there, leave me a comment here, and I will respond to you just as soon as I get an opportunity. I respond to all my subscribers, whether you like my content or you have critique. I appreciate your feedback. And other than that, that's going to do it for now. Check out these other videos here